thing where you have unfair advantage. Knowing where you are the best in which other people are not so good in, you really create this confidence and clarity, and that attracts people, and there's nothing in the world that is going to stop you, right? And that's something that I missed when I started my career. Also growing up in Poland, it wasn't really encouraged to be an entrepreneur, especially a female. It wasn't really encouraged to really go against the stream or do something else, you just stay in your lane, just don't go out of your lane, But I was never taught to build my own lane. And that's what I just started realizing myself.
Okay.
Yeah, really building my own lane. And if I knew that before, if I had a mentor that helped me do that before, I would have been so much further in my career and my journey right now. But
All right, guys, welcome back in. Actually, for once, I have a lady guest here with me today. And by the number of episodes that I have on the show, you can probably guess that this is a reflection of the gap in the entrepreneurial world between how many women are out there trying to do the same thing as men and probably struggling a lot more than men. Justyna, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
yes, thank you so much for having me here, Olya. I'm Justi CG, and I'm a solopreneur. What I do is basically one side of my business is marketing consulting. And what I do for my clients is I build marketing waiting rooms. And that is something that hopefully we'll talk about later on. I'm not going to say more about that. That's one thing. And the other thing is I'm a creator also. So I sell courses, templates, and I'm also very active on LinkedIn, just spitting out my rage and rants out into the world.
Speaking of that, I think the post that you made for the Women's Day on LinkedIn, it just like totally resonated with me because it was like 5 things that pissed me off, I think, right? So one of the slides on there was talking about how basically someone said to you like, oh, Steve, would you like fetch us some coffee? And I was like, oh my God, rage mode, because I've totally dealt with similar things, but they were more like, okay, Ollie, your proposal is cool, but what does Stan think about it? And like Stan being like either my colleague or not even like a superior, and I'd be like, why? Can we please rage about this for now?
Yeah. So, like this, I just created this series of those posts of things that pissed me off. And it was a Women's Day. And I thought, okay, let me just rant about all the things that happened to me and also a lot of other women in the business world as an International Women's Day celebration. So yeah, there were a lot of things. And I was just so mind blown how many women started reacting to this post and sharing their horrible stories. When I read them, I thought, okay, what happened to me is it's peanuts, because there were people or women saying things like, for example, somebody said that she left her breast milk, like a container, somewhere in the fridge. And somebody threw it away and left a note like, this is gross, what the hell are you doing? And I just couldn't really, I'm like, oh my God,
I would
cannot.
find the person, punch them in the face. Like literally punch them in the face.
I would do the same. Yes. So yeah, but on the positive note, this post also created a lot of space for women to feel understood. So for example, I had a couple of women reaching out to me and kind of seeking like a mentor, finding like, this really safe space. They felt like, hey, I really would like you to coach me. I really would like to teach me how to do well in business as a woman, how to find my thing, how to really stand out. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a nice outcome of that post.
No, for sure. Because I think once you share something personal that resonates with other people, and it's like it makes us a little bit vulnerable, right? To share something that is that personal. But I think like by being vulnerable, you give other people the opportunity to be vulnerable too.
Yes.
So I think that's great that you've created let's call it like space like that for others to be vulnerable.
Yeah. And some people will even tell me like, this is the therapy I didn't even know I needed. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll keep on doing this. People need this. This is my purpose. This is my drive.
But what if we basically like take a step back in your business journey overall? Can you give me like some, I call them like the good, the bad, and the ugly examples of what has happened to you as a female entrepreneur, or maybe even like before you started the entrepreneurial journey, that you think would have never happened to a man?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think the most common and the most obvious thing is, or there are two things. One is like pushing me to like male clients or male colleagues or males in some sort of position as sort of like a, you know, just go there, just talk to him because he is going to listen to you because you're a nice blondie, right? And then you're like, it's just like,
That's so
oh,
sexy.
this makes you feel like you're, I don't know, just a toy, a tool, you know? You're not being appreciated for what you really are, for your hard work, for your knowledge, for your experience, for your skills, but just based on how you look, you know? And that's really sad. And another thing is what you already said, you know, just putting like male colleagues in front of you, like no matter how good, how well you do in your job, having this male colleague do something, like being next to you gives you more credibility, right?
Right.
So that's what happens a lot in agencies also. Like I worked in an agency, that happened to me a couple of times. But yeah, to be honest, like there were a lot of things that now that I have reflect on that, I only see it right now. But back then I didn't see that. And I don't know if it's because I was just less aware because I was younger, or the things, you know, this whole sexism was not so really talked about. But yeah, I didn't do anything about that. But now that I look at it from the perspective, I'm like, why didn't you punch them in the face? Why didn't you do something, you know?
So that's the one step that you're taking right now, is offering this mentorship, right? So you're trying to serve other people while you probably couldn't really do anything for yourself back then.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the biggest part of what I wish I had before I went on my solopreneurship journey, or into any career for that matter, is really having this confidence from within, right?
Right.
And that confidence comes from two things, or one thing leads to another, and that is having clarity, or first understanding what you're really all about. What is this one thing where you have unfair advantage? Knowing where you are the best in which other people are not so good in, you really create this confidence and clarity, and that attracts people, and there's nothing in the world that is going to stop you, right? And that's something that I missed when I started my career. Also growing up in Poland, it wasn't really encouraged to be an entrepreneur, especially a female. It wasn't really encouraged to really go against the stream or do something else, you know, you just stay in your lane, just don't go out of your lane, you know. But I was never taught to build my own lane. And that's what I just started realizing myself.
Okay.
Yeah, really building my own lane. And if I knew that before, if I had a mentor that helped me do that before, I would have been so much further in my career and my journey right now. But this is my life. This is how it went, and that's how it's supposed to go. So here I am, and I'm very happy with my life right now.
Right.
And I'm happy that I can share it with other people. Yeah.
I really like this phrase, build your own lane. So, you know, at the end of each episode, I give homework to the listeners. So this will definitely be part of it.
Yeah.
I always have, I think, one example of how I dealt with, and I was going to ask, like, so for context, you're from Poland, and you spend most of your career in Poland, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because I think that context matters, because it's probably different from country to country, because I spent most of my career in the US, and it's different and it's not at the same time, because I was this Eastern European female immigrant, so I obviously had to deal with a bunch of,
stereotypes.
Yes, exactly.
Preconceptions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you know, it like used to put me down so badly. I'll be like, oh my God, people just see the color of my hair and my face and my name, and they're probably like, yep, well, she probably, slept with somebody to get this position. That was like just like default. Everybody was saying that. Like I used to just like minimize myself so much so that like people wouldn't notice me because I was just so scared that they will immediately judge me. But then I actually thought, you know what? This is actually my advantage. Because also the people I was working with were men. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Yeah, I'm going to be the female Eastern European immigrant. I'm going to be the blonde in the office, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Turning that weakness into what I thought was a weakness into an opportunity just totally boosted the entire thing for me. When I finally realized that this was my power and not my weakness, it like turned the whole thing around for me.
Yeah, this is everything, really. It's really everything. And I'm so happy that it happened to you and you realized that this is it. I'm going to use it. Fuck everything else.
Exactly. But I do think it like created this I don't know how to put it. I talked about it in one of the previous episodes, like this shallow perception of myself for myself. It's like at some point I just started thinking, okay, well, my looks is all I have. But it like kind of like reflects into my personal life. So I started thinking, okay, everything that I bring to the table is just like this, nothing else. So I think it's a dangerous game. It's like when you focus too much on one thing, it just like takes over everything else. So it's like adding more advice to the advice. It's like, don't focus too much on any of the traits that you have, because I think otherwise it's just going to become like your whole identity. And then it's like super hard to roll back from it.
Yeah, definitely don't let anybody else define who you are. You have to, again, define your own path, define your own lane, define who you are. This is your game. This is your world. You can do whatever the hell you want. And everybody has the potential to be great at something. You just have to find that greatness and this area where you can be great in, and that's all.
How did you find yours? How did you find your lane?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And to be honest, there is no straightforward answer because it's a messy middle. That's what they call, I guess. It's the messy middle. And, you just do things. You just follow your instincts. You learn to tune your, senses to really find this thing that really makes your heart beat faster. But if I look back at what happened and what led me to where I am right now is, I guess, really, being out there. So what I did is I really started working with my clients when I started my consultancy business. And I was really paying attention to what made me feel like I don't have to overthink. I don't have to put much effort into this. I just do it, right? Mm-hmm. And what happened is that I noticed that with every client, I was really pulling up my Figma file, like immediately FigJam, and I started drawing things. Like when I talk, I draw, and then my clients understood what I was talking about. And usually my clients were like CEOs or founders who had not so much marketing experience. So it was perfect to them to kind of have this very simplified story of their marketing. So then I thought, okay, this is something that comes easy to me and that I can, that is really something that I enjoy. So that was one thing. Another thing is that my husband and I, we were talking about like, who am I, right? We were just talking about defining my personal brand. And then he was like, just think about it, about the things that you do in your life. And then I was thinking like, okay, I love to make cocktails. I always make cocktail parties for my friends. And then I design like this little menu with cocktails on it. And everybody's like, wow. And I love interior design. So I design our interiors in our apartments, and everybody's just wowed. And then he's like, there you go. You like to wow people. That's another thing that you do. That's just intrinsic desire in you to wow people, right? So then I thought, okay, I can use that. I can use that to create content, to really create a brand that stands out, but also help my clients create content and create brands that stand out. And that's how through a combination of these things, I developed a concept that is called the waiting room. And that since I have developed this concept, I managed to package this into an offer, which started selling like crazy to marketing managers or to like CEOs and founders. And essentially what it is, it's nothing else than lead generation and lead nurturing, so inbound marketing. But basically, I explained to them, look, you invest in marketing, and whenever you reach somebody with your marketing, the chance that they're ready to buy right now is very low.
Right.
So you're paying to be in front of them. And if they don't do anything because they're not ready to buy it, that's the only option for them, then you're losing money and you're losing them, and you have to pay again to be in front of them. So that's why you need to put them in the waiting room, where you're going to entertain them, where you're going to teach them, educate them, whatever that is.
I love
And then
that.
when they are ready to buy, they're going to buy from you. And they're like, oh my God, I need this. Oh my God, this is it. Build this for me, right? And since I tested it with a couple of clients, I saw that they are really willing to pay whatever it takes to get this going. I'm like, okay, this is it. I built this. This is the combination of all the things that I'm good at, and I'm very confident that I can sell this. And I believe that this is the only way to do business or to scale companies. So there you go. There are two things: confidence and believing in yourself, and that's what sells, basically. So that's my story.
Absolutely. So what is like the main element of the waiting room? By the way, I love the name. So is it like really valuable content? What is it? Of course, if you want to spill the beans, unless you want to keep it with some.
Sure, yeah, I want to spill the beans, yeah. So basically, first and foremost, the waiting room is a mental model that helps these people who don't really think about marketing that much. It helps them understand the mechanics, right? That's one. Two is once they understand that, I tell them, look, you need to get people into the waiting room. That means that you need to attract them. To attract them, you need content. So you build a layer of content, you distribute that content, you bring people into the waiting room. But within the waiting room, you also need to serve them content, whatever that is, in whatever format, whatever channels they might find the most relevant. That's basically all about content, right? So this is what I offer them. I offer them the strategy, so implementing the whole system, but also creating content that attracts and sells within the waiting room.
So it's all about content at the end of the day. So you gotta, basically you gotta like keep giving them some value for them eventually to want to buy from you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I want to come back to what you just mentioned about your husband, basically that he like helped you brainstorm, etc. How do you like on the scale of like 1 to essential, how do you value having somebody by your side as close as a spouse or partner or something like that to being successful professionally?
I think it's non-negotiable.
Okay.
Or at least for a person like me. I know people that have achieved big success just being on their own, but I think these are rare cases. I myself, I can't imagine that I would be where I am right now without my husband, because he's really helping me think about the ideas that I come up with, all these crazy concepts that I sell. And he's also good at sales. So he's like very much overall great buddy to have. So in terms of business ideas, yes, exactly. But also on the other hand, mental support, that is also very, very important.
Right.
Because being a solopreneur or an entrepreneur for that matter, that is a tough mental journey. And you have so many moments that you want to just, go into the corner and cry yourself to sleep and never come back to this reality again. But if you have a supportive spouse, or maybe even better, if you have a mentor who's been through that and they already know, like, hey, this is normal, you just have to go through this, just get up and do your thing. Yeah. That's much, much more helpful. So don't do this on your own.
Yeah, I always talk about the 3 C's that I use for my successful journey. It's I got commitment, consistency, and community. I mean, pretty self-explanatory, right? But I always undervalued the weight of community, like entourage, like the helpful entourage around you, because ever since I moved here to the south of France from the United States, I haven't had the like-minded community around me, because there is no tech scene here. There is like, there is not a lot of like entrepreneurial spirit, because there are either the ultra rich or people making minimum wage. So it's like, it's a big struggle. But now I kind of found my community online, and I'm like, this is super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also very easy to underestimate. Like you're saying, you don't realize how many people you have around you that are supporting you until you really go somewhere else where they are not there, and you're like, holy shit,
Yes,
what am I gonna do? Yeah.
exactly. Do you have any examples of maybe when some of your like professional struggles have put a wrench between you and your husband?
Oh yes, yes, yes. So many times. But that's
How
because
do you deal with that?
yeah, I think the only way to deal with it is really be aware that when you have a conversation and that conversation turns into an argument, you really need to train yourself to be aware what is that moment that turns a normal conversation into a fight. That takes a lot of practicing awareness. Meditation helps with that. But that alone doesn't help, because you have to also talk through that and understand, okay, when this happens, we get into a fight. So what are the tools, or what are the things that we can develop for ourselves to not do that again in the future? It helps that both of us, my husband and I, we kind of like psychology, so we like to analyze other people, but also each other. So that helps us, kind of get to the bottom of things and sort things out. But it still took us, I think, I don't know, more than a month or maybe even 2 months to figure out what it really was that caused us to, go against each other. So it's a process, it's a journey, like everything else.
I mean, my whole journey, entrepreneurial journey, where I'm trying to build this whole, platform for entrepreneurial effectiveness and this whole podcast started because, well, shit hit the fan when my husband mid last year, just because I think we both didn't know how much pressure and stress we have accumulated with 2 little kids and all these like financial constraints and so on, that we just kept taking out on each other. And just like boom, 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 boom,
So
like,
easy. Yeah.
virtual punch after virtual punch. And like neither of us knew how to stop. And so we really hit rock bottom. I mean, we were like talking about divorce and stuff because it was just like, we didn't see the light at the end of the funnel. And it took me going away on a vacation with my friend, which was like unheard of while having like a tiny child who was not even like 1 year old back then, that I had like this whole I mean, this is gonna sound silly. I went to Bali. It was a coincidence. I didn't mean to go to Bali. It's not like I was looking for some retreats or something like this. But literally all it took is me being alone on the airplane without internet or any entertainment to just like sit, think, write. Journaling helped so much. I literally cried my eyes out on that airplane. I think the lady that was sitting next to me was a bit paranoid because she probably thought I was gonna like go freaking crazy at some point, because I was sobbing. I was like I was like uncontrollably sobbing because I was like uncovering so much trauma that I stalled inside myself, that I was just like, but I felt like such a good purge. And when I came back, I was like a different person. And it wasn't even Bali, it was just a freaking airplane.
That's what we think, like, oh, I'm gonna go out, miles away to find myself. But this is where you find yourself. Just lock yourself up somewhere and find a way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel you on this one.
I wanted to ask you about dealing with the clients, because I think I haven't really touched upon this subject yet. Because I think there is like a very slight difference between dealing with the clients and dealing with the team members. Obviously, like there is one person that you're servicing, but the team members, you still someone servicing them, and you gotta like really find a way to collaborate. So when you first started out, were you trying to filter the clients, or were you just, okay, let me just like take everyone and see what sticks?
Yeah, I think everybody just goes through this moment in their entrepreneurship where they just take whatever comes their way, right? and that makes sense. I mean, I would encourage to do that unless you really know what you want, and unless you're really freaking confident and anything. But I was none of these things in the beginning. So I was just throwing myself out there, just taking any assignment just to learn. I knew that, I felt that deep down that some of the clients were not good for me, but I still wanted to kind of take this opportunity to learn something about myself, something about the processes, testing my processes. So I just took this as something like, okay, I know this is not going to be like a multi-million-dollar project or whatever, but it is a great playground, and this is the reason why I'm taking on this project, right?
I think that's a really good approach, because I think a lot of people do the same thing without being so conscious about it, and it just kind of probably like snowballs into a giant shit show, because then they basically, it's like it becomes weeks of I don't even know who I am anymore. And because I think so, to bring it back to the personal relationship, what I think is an essential part of any type of relationship is setting clear boundaries, like understanding your boundaries, first of all, setting them, and having deal breakers.
Yes, definitely.
So do you have maybe like a list of deal breakers and boundaries that you now know you need to keep with clients?
Yeah, so the deal breakers, like from the very beginning, like before we even start working with each other, for me, one thing is that when a founder comes to me and they say, okay, I build a product and I don't want to do anything about, like, I don't want to have anything to do with marketing, you just go and do this for me, right? And I'm like, I've tried that, it doesn't work, because also based on my own experience with my own business, you cannot market a product that you didn't sell yourself yet. You don't know basically if like your clients want to pay for it. What are their objections? Like, you don't know anything. I'm like, I cannot help you. What I can do is I can coach you, and then together we can kind of get somewhere where you get your first 10 customers or your first 50 customers or whatever. But I'm not going to do marketing for you. There is no way in hell that I'm going to do this, because it's not going to work. I'm going to burn out. You're going to be pissed. You're going to waste money. This is not going to work for us. So this is one thing that I definitely don't accept. And another thing is when I see that a client is fuzzy about what they want, but they behave like they know everything, right? So I'm not saying that they're wise asses or anything, but they kind of come across as, hey, I know what I want, but deep down, I know that there is so much fuzziness. So I know that there's going to be such a mismatch in expectations that I'm like, I cannot move beyond that. I cannot move past that. There's going to be a lot of, clashes. So I'm going to have to say no. And that's what happened. I started with a client once who said that he wanted one thing, but then it turned out that the product was not ready yet, and they had to change the whole vision for the product in between while I was building a marketing plan for the other version. And I was like, okay, sorry, but we have to end this, because this is just not a great match, and maybe you're not even ready for this yet. Just take your time, So yeah, these two.
Yeah, that definitely sounds familiar. What about more so like communication style and soft skills? Are there like any things that, for example, you see from a mile now where you would immediately be like, nope, next?
I'm not sure. I don't think I've had that really, to be honest. I guess I was lucky to have a lot of clients who were really polite, were really nice, and I enjoyed talking to them. And I don't think I have anything to add here, really.
I guess I would then add from my side. So I haven't had any like bad experiences throughout my entire career up until like one of the most recent ones, where it was just like a boys club with a bunch of guys thinking they're like, kings of the world. And this whole mentality of like, we are the superstars, we've got the best concept, blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
I first actually saw it as like inspiring, because I was like, wow, like I have like, it's been a while since I worked with somebody with like big vision, big mouth, big whatever. But little that I knew, it went out of control very quickly. They raised a lot of money, got like crazy with that money, hired a lot of people, whole thing crashed and burned, and they had to fire pretty much everybody. And now when I see somebody who's like, my God, blah, 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 like, like Elon Musk type of
I know
thing.
the type. I
like,
know the type, yeah. Yeah, I never had a pleasure to work or to, deal with such clients, but I do know the types because I met a lot of those throughout my career. I know, especially in those like, big conferences or, like some
Right.
startup meetups or whatever. Yeah, yeah. I guess I don't attract this type of people, or I stay away from. I don't know. I didn't have to deal with that.
What about you yourself? So from time to time, I ask my guests about this. Basically, I have categorized most of entrepreneurs into three personas. So one I just mentioned, Elon Musk, which is like, big vision, innovation, blah, blah, blah. Then there is the Jeffs of that world, which is basically like, yep, I'm the guy in my garage, but I'm going to make a lot of money. And then there is the third one, which is Oprah, which is basically somebody who maybe came from not the most like advantageous background and decided to basically turn this around, but then also help other people not to be stuck in the same station. So do you have like a strong affiliation with any of those, or are you none of them?
I think I'm a combination of Elon and Jeff, really, because I have these big
G-Lo.
visions. Oh my God, love it, love it. Yeah, so I have this visionary in me, and I want to do big things. But I'm also okay with like, hey, okay, I know I have to to make this vision happen. I have to really lock myself up, use whatever I have, be very resourceful, to build this big kingdom, or not big kingdom, but this big dream, step by step.
Right. Do you have aspirations of turning what you have right now into like a more like a bigger scale operation, like maybe turning into an agency or something?
No, I want to keep it small. I want to keep it minimalist, and that's why I want to keep this like consultation or consultancy going on. But eventually, the ratio between consultancy and building digital products and courses, I would like to shift that, because I would like to have a passive income and build some products that generate some income for me without having to really hire full-time employees, because it's such a pain in the arse. I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs really suffering so much because they, like, I remember, like, even my cousin, he started his company. He was very passionate about what he was doing, and now that he's a CEO of quite a big company, he is like, oh my God, I can't do what I love to do because I have to deal with drama all the time, and I feel him, and I don't like this. There are people that like this, and that's okay, but that's not for me. I like to kind of hide in my cave, just do my thing, I meet with my clients online. That's my thing.
I feel that because that's I kind of alluded to that when I said there's like a very light difference between managing clients and managing people. Like you
Yes.
have to like bend backwards in both situations most of the time.
Yeah, that's very, very tough and unproductive a lot of times also,
That's true.
because there's a lot of emotions involved, and yeah, I don't know.
I've had an unsuccessful experience of hiring a virtual assistant because I thought I needed somebody like very low level who would just like help me do a bunch of research and stuff. But there were two problems with that. One, I felt like I was spending more time explaining the task and setting up the environment for it than actually like just doing the task myself.
Yeah.
Then the second one, because it was like an actual company that manages the whole thing. I guess I can name it. It's called Wing App. Actually, like overall, great experience in terms of data research, setup, etc. But because they force some like fixed working hours for you to accept from the virtual assistant, it's like if you don't give them work within that period of time and they don't do anything, you still get billed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this for me, I didn't realize it was going to be a problem. Like I kind of saw a red flag because I'm like, yeah, I suck with my time management. So
Yeah, that's a thing.
well, she did help quite a lot because I needed a lot of I needed to find like specific books and stuff to train the large language model for Aurora. So she was like very instrumental there because I would have spent probably like more time doing that than like explaining to her what I needed. But it was mostly so it's like all this whole but then I was like, okay, fine, yeah, I don't know, influencers on LinkedIn, influencers on Instagram. Again, it's like very straightforward. Anything beyond that, it was like super hard because she needed a lot of like hand holding. I mean, she was a very like hardworking human being, but for anyone out there listening and thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, you really need to like be precise with what you're looking for. Otherwise, it might not be
Yeah.
a great experience.
Yeah, always know what you want. This is the most important thing. Once you know what you want, everything else is so much easier.
Right, right. Because like I knew I just had so much work, but I had like no idea how to formulate the full thing. That's why I was like
Yeah.
so actual, like, oh yeah, and this and that and blah blah blah.
Yeah, or you can hire also somebody that will help you structure your fuzzy thoughts. That is also something,
True.
but then it costs more, probably.
Of course, yeah, yeah. So you can imagine the cost of virtual assistant Philippines is nothing compared to like actual like productivity coach or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about whether you've ever seen like your client having like, I don't know, say a mental breakdown in front of you, and how did you handle that?
Yeah, I did, and it was not my client specifically, not the person that hired me, but somebody from their team. But I think I'm not allowed really to speak about that, to be honest with you, because I already had problems with that. It was, I didn't deal with, I don't know if anybody would learn anything from this situation, because I didn't learn much either. It was just a lot of drama and emotions. That's why I said, like, I never would want to create like a big team, build a big team around me, because that's what you deal with. A lot of people having a lot of strong emotions, and emotions are like, you don't know where they really come from, so you have to dig deep to understand that, and it's just so unproductive. Sorry, I cannot tell you the story. I really want to.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I think you don't have kids, right?
No.
Yeah, this is something I've learned through having small kids, because their emotions are like completely irrational. Like it's just like there is no explanation for it.
Yeah,
They're just like
exactly.
having tantrums, you know? It's because simply they do not know how to regulate their emotions. And it took me a while to accept that it's like never about me or anything else. It's just like there
Yeah.
might have been something that upset them like an hour ago, and because they were not able to express that, like there's something small that happens again, and it's like, whoa. And
Yeah.
you're like, what the fuck? You cried because your pencil fell down, and you're just like, you're like ready to
Yeah.
fall from your mouth because you can't understand it.
Yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, that's how it feels to me. But like you're saying, like any emotions that you see that somebody is having at a moment, just it's not personal indeed. And in that case, with my client, it was not personal. There's just a lot of things going on in people's heads, and there's just this, like, there's things that are piling up, and you happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. You say something, or I don't know, you drop a pencil, it makes too much noise, whatever, and then everything bursts, right? So, and rarely it's really personal.
Right. I'm like still stuck on this whole build your lane thing. And I like what you said about how like you know what you don't want, as in like managing people, potentially dealing with all this emotional dysregulation, all that. So do you have any other tips on how to find your lane? As in you just mentioned, like understanding what you don't want, which is actually a concept that keeps just like popping up in my interviews. And then the second one, what I like what you said was that that you just want it to be more like passive income, so you can actually probably have some certain lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So to find what you really want and how to get there, and find your lane, you have to imagine yourself in the future. So like, go do some, time traveling, and look at yourself in the future. Where do you see yourself? And I remember I had a mentor once, and I had this struggle because I knew that I had a very, very vivid like dream in my head, and that was that I would like to move back to my village, the village where I come from, very tiny village in the northeast of Poland. And I would build a house there. And next to the house, I would have a restaurant or cocktail bar or pizzeria or something, and I would just wow people. That's the thing that I do. I would wow people there.
Right.
People there. And I was so fixated on this dream. And I just quit my job at an agency, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what steps I should take to get to that dream as soon as possible. And then I had this a meeting with that mentor of mine, and she told me to, first of all, she asked me like, why do you want this cabin in the village so much? Don't fixate on the cabin, fixate on what it means. Like, what is beneath? Because this cabin is just a manifestation of what you
Right.
really want.
Right.
So think about it. What is it really that you want? What does it represent? And try to achieve that rather than the physical manifestation. And another thing that she did, she asked me to write down 3 things, and that is what I can, what I want, and something else. There are three buckets where she told me to put things in, right? And then so I just sat down and wrote down everything that came to my mind, and then I went into my session with her, the follow-up session, and when we analyzed the things that I can and want to do, and the difference between the things that I can and want to do, I realized that I push myself to do things that I can do, but I don't necessarily want to do. And that put me under a lot of pressure and a lot of friction, right? So then I focused really on finding out like what really brings a lot of joy to me, where do I excel? What is this unfair advantage? What is this one thing that comes naturally to me and is very difficult for other people? And that's really game changing. Once you know that, this is really game changing.
How did you find your mentor?
On Growth Mentor.
Okay.
Growthmentor.com. Yeah. I don't remember the name of that mentor anymore, but she was really amazing.
She sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really very calm, and it almost felt like I was talking to some sort of a spiritual leader, but in the corporate life, in the corporate realm. It was a very interesting combination, but it was really good.
Yeah, it does sound great. So what was it manifesting, the cabin? What was the real drive there?
Yeah, so basically what I wanted to achieve is just having freedom and enough financial freedom to do what I really deep down want to do. I didn't want to really drop, because the dream was that I would retire early, so I don't have to work and I can focus on that thing that I really want to do. But then I realized I will never retire because I love my job and I'll keep on doing this. But I just want to have a little bit more time for the other things, expressing myself in a creative way. And it doesn't have to be making cocktails somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's going to drink cocktails in the middle of nowhere. So that makes sense, right? But yeah, basically that.
Yeah, I see. When I mentor people myself, especially the ones that are at the beginning of their journey, I always ask them, do you know your number? As in, do you know how much money you want to be making? And you would be surprised that most people do not know their number. They usually give me like some really wide range. It's like, I just want to be somewhere in the 6 figures. I'm like, yeah, 6 figures can be 100,000, it can be close to $1 million. So what's your number?
Yeah.
And this is actually like a painful exercise for most people.
I can imagine, because if you asked me this question, I probably wouldn't know either.
But somehow, I guess surprisingly, it comes down to that. It took me going through this exercise, very painful exercise, to finally say, okay, I know what I don't want, because I was considering consulting as well, but I also knew that I didn't want to have the whole operation, just like you, because I'm like, I don't want to be dealing with clients and with my own team, because it's just going to drive me crazy, because I have a friend who is doing this right now, and he's actually going to be one of the future guests. I'm like, I don't want to be him. Like, I don't want to be answering emails, phone calls, etc. on the weekend, at night, etc. But then, I still want to be helping people somehow. So that's how I came up with the whole app. I'm like, between making more than what I'm making right now and understanding the lifestyle that I want to have, I just kind of wanted to be 50% passive. Because then I also have my kids, and this is what motivated me a lot, by saying, I don't want to be running no business. I just want to have some sort of a platform that I maintain, that I promote, that I low-key sit back and relax. I know this is not going to happen, right? We all know this, but not like being on call all time. This is
Yeah.
like the ultimate goal for me.
Yeah, I totally can relate to that. But I know that, I still want to keep my consultancy going on no matter what, because this is where I learn the most, right?
Right,
And I
exactly.
know that this will fuel the creation of my products in the future and courses. So yeah, but definitely I turn off my phone. I don't take any calls in the weekend. This is not what I do. This is not what I want to do. And I try to attract or get hired by clients who are not like that. Yeah, that sounds like a stressful life that your friend has over there.
Yeah, no, it's like I thought it was exciting, and I totally did that when I was in DC, like almost 10 years ago. I was like, yeah, this is the life. I'm always busy, you know? And it's like,
Yes.
this also like this toxic workaholic culture, at least in the East Coast of the US. Like, if you don't do it, it's like low key people will be like, what's wrong with you, you know?
Yeah. But also, like before you have kids and before, when you're younger and you have like this role models of, that you see in the series, American series. They're always busy. They always look so important. You also want to be there. And when you're there, like, what the fuck is this? I don't want this,
Right.
And then you go back, okay, I was joking. I don't want this. I'm gonna go low key.
Yeah, I would never go back to that lifestyle
Yeah.
now. It was, I mean, honestly, it was great from back then. No regrets, absolutely no regrets. I was, grinding, like working my ass off, and it was great. But I think there is like a place and time for everything, right?
Yeah,
So it was
precisely.
an
100%.
episode of my life, and now it's like there is a new one.
Yeah.
All right. I think it's time to come to the conclusion of the episode. So, what I usually now ask, because I've tried different variations of this, is because I believe that the whole gratitude thing doesn't have a lot of awareness around it. So, this is something that helped me get over a lot of my like self-doubts and problems with self-confidence, because I would just always see everything in the black. Everything was wrong. And once I finally like turned this around a little bit and started noticing even little things that were right, it just like helped me immensely. So that's why I want to finish each episode with asking the guest, what are a few things that you have recently built great?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So what I'm grateful for is my husband. Definitely my husband, because like I said, there's been such a crazy ride, and without him as my rock, nothing would have happened. He pushed me to Levon.
Thank you, Lev, because thanks to you, I'm having Justi on this podcast.
Awesome. Yeah. So that, but I'm also noticing and appreciating one thing about myself, and that is that I can learn super quickly. Didn't realize that, but just this week, Lev told me, hey, you really have to learn sales. I think you would be really great at this. You just never had a proper sales training. So then I went on, I found a podcast. I listened to a couple of episodes, and then I was like, oh my God, I'm on top of my game. I'm just like on LinkedIn, messaging people. My pipeline is growing. Like, this feels so great. So yeah, this is what I'm grateful for, these two things.
Awesome. And I'm glad one of them is about you, because I think a lot of times when I talk about, gratitude and all that, people just always like focus on external things because this is like so much easier to do, right? But
true.
Yeah, but I think it's like, thank you for bringing this up. I think it's super important to be grateful for like what's inside of us, physical or mental. We just have to all acknowledge that. I think whenever we're like healthy, both in the head and the body, it's like this already something to be grateful for, like several times a day.
Yeah, it's so easy to underestimate this. So yeah, thank you for saying this.
No, thank you. You brought this up.
Thank me. I thank myself too.
All right. What shall we give as a homework? Because I've been taking notes. That's where I was looking down. I was not on my phone. I was taking notes.
No.
So I think I think you already realized that I'm totally blown away with this whole build your own lane concept. And I think this could be like the big homework, but I want this. That's why I kept asking you like more detailed questions, like how can you actually get to it. So what I wrote down is basically like identify your unfair advantage. So something that you don't overthink, something that comes easily to you. And then when you were talking about like, so what is it like? I just want to wow people. So maybe we can formulate it as like, what is the reaction that you want to like receive from your work? Do you think that would be like a fair formulation of that, or do you have anything better in mind?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting thing to do. Like, what is it that you want other people to like? What's the reaction? That's for sure. But another thing is like once you find this one thing that you really like, and like for me, I like to wow people. I was like, yeah, okay, but what can I do with it? You know, it's like it's so fluffy. But once you start thinking about like how can I productize it? How can I package it in an offer that people feel stupid to refuse? Then ideas start flowing. Then you really create this, I call it how do you call it, creative limitation, where you can really be have like really great ideas about this specific thing. So you just define this little creative space for yourself by defining what you're really good at, and then try to think of ways to sell it basically. And I think a great book to help you with that is the 100 Million Offers by Alex Ramosi. Not sure if
Okay.
you've heard that one. You don't have to read the entire book. I think it's enough to have like a read through a summary. But essentially, there's this concept of, you have a brick, and you just think of different ways of how to package this brick to serve multiple or do multiple jobs, right? So you also have a brick. That brick is your skill or your thing that you're good at. How can you sell it to people? How people can use that basically, right?
Okay. It made me think again about, well, you probably won't be surprised if I say that I've been working a lot on like understanding the personal relationship and all that, because shit hit the fan last year. So one of the like what they call foundational blocks is like understanding your love language and like communicating it to the other person. So when you said like I just like to wow people, for me it was like, yeah, I like that too, because I like people to say this to me like, wow, Olya, like this is great, blah blah.
Yeah.
And it took me like, well, I'm 35. It probably took me 35 years of my life to understand my love language, whether it's my partner or like a collaborator client. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh my god, this is amazing, but at least saying, yeah, this is really good.
Just small surprise, element of surprise, yeah.
Right. And for me, it's like, it's also, I realize I like to be like the soul of the party. So I like to be kind of like a bit of like stand-up comedian type of person, because I like to make people laugh. Like this is what I actually enjoy.
Yeah.
Like making people laugh.
Yeah, same here. Oh my god, we should collab once on something. Well, people together.
We should. Sorry, we like debated. So, understand. Okay, the last thing that I wrote down was seeing yourself in the future, and basically understanding what is the how do you call it? Like the overlap between what you can and what.
Yeah, so really seeing like everybody has a dream, and this dream is very tangible, like something that you really, really want to have. And that was this hut or a house in the village, but that represents something. So spend some time thinking about what it represents, and maybe there are other ways to satisfy this dream, because you have this dream, and usually they go like big, but the essence of that dream is something that you can satisfy much easier with smaller things, and then you will feel satisfied sooner, and you don't have to strive for this big dream that's going to happen in 50 years, right? So basically that's the principle here.
All right. I think this was super insightful, super raw, as I call it, because I think we went over a few unglorified concepts.
Yeah,
And
these are the best.
what is the best way for people to get in touch with you? Would that be your LinkedIn?
Yes, Justi CG on LinkedIn, or my website, which is justi-cg.com.
All right, we'll definitely link everything in the description of the episode on the YouTube as well, if you're watching us on YouTube. Any last words of wisdom?
Oh my gosh, there was so much wisdom said here. I don't know what else to add, but I think the only thing that will make you successful while not making you going crazy is staying true to yourself. Just listen to yourself. This is really cringe and stupid, but this is really the only thing that matters.
That is true. But that requires you knowing who you are.
Exactly. That.
All right.
Get on this journey as soon as you can, because that's a must-have.
Build your lane.
Build your lane. Yes, I just made it up. That's awesome.
That is great, though. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you on one of the next episodes as well.
Yes, would love to be here. Thank you for having me, Olya.
All right, I'm going to stop the